He's driving. I'm on
Check his
meds, so
license.
I can't drive on meds.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started if everybody is ready. Ken, can you give me a thumbs up if you're good to go?
I'm good to go.
Okay. Here's what we'll do. We've got about 10 minutes here with Ken. We'll try to run through as many questions as we can. Just want to make sure everybody knows you are free to record this and use this however you want. What we'll do is if you want to ask a question, go ahead and put your name in the chat and your organization, and I'll call on you. We'll try to keep everybody on mute just for the audio quality as we go through this, except the person that's speaking at that time. One other thing, just for kind of housekeeping, we do hope that either later today or tomorrow morning, we'll have details on the actual swearing in so that the stations or media outlets that want to broadcast it live will have the ability to pick it up and carry it live as well. With that, let's take a look at the chat. And the first person that we have in there right now is Lloyd Sowers. Lloyd, we'll begin with you if you want to go ahead and ask Ken a question.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor-elect, good morning. Could you tell me if you're having COVID-19 now?
I'm not sure that we can hear you. Doyle, do you want to make sure that he is unmuted, and Lloyd, make sure that you're not on mute?
I could hear him. I could hear him.
You could hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, does the fact that you have COVID now change your outlook on COVID and how you should deal with COVID-related issues going forward in terms of city business, in terms of quarantines or masking or anything else that comes to mind for COVID? Does this experience change your approach to it?
No, Lloyd, it actually really confirms, I think, our approach to COVID. It's really been science-based. The fact that, I'm still functioning and it feels to me like a regular cold, and that's because, I'm vaccinated. I've received the booster as well. And so I think the science works. This is a good example of that. And, unfortunately, with the rise and the spread of the Omicron variant, this is probably going to be our reality if you look at the projections. So it doesn't change my approach. I think it really verifies that if you can, please get the vaccine and get boosted. It's the safest way for the inevitable. Most of us will have to come in contact with COVID at some point. Thank you.
Next question is Colleen with the Tampa Bay Times. Colleen, go ahead.
Hi, Mayor. Sorry to hear that you have a cold, but happy to hear it's not worse. On Thursday, we spoke about how the postponement of public celebrations, that it doesn't doesn't dampen anything. Those are just going to be postponed. Do you feel a little different now that it's your inauguration that was supposed to be joyous and in person is now virtual and from your home? Does it change? Is it a bummer for you? Does it change things at all?
Not at all, Colleen. And I'm actually glad I told you and the photographer to stay away when we did the shoot last week. I think if we've learned anything through the last couple of years, it's that the human capacity to adapt. And so many folks have lost everything. They've lost loved ones. They've lost businesses. They've had to change, life events like graduations and weddings and homegoings. And so in the relative scheme of things, us having to cancel this inauguration obviously is something that we wish we could have done. But, the folks who have worked so hard for this to be possible, they'd be the first ones to say, folks like Perkins Shelton and Verl Davis and others, that it's not about the celebration, it's about the work that happens after that. And we are focused on the work thanks to technology. We've lived with COVID for a couple of years. My last year on the commission was all Zoom meetings. And so we met with city staff this morning via Zoom. We're going to re-engage with city staff this afternoon, excuse me, via Zoom. The work will continue, and that's the most important part. The celebrations will happen when it's safe to do so.
Next question is Courtney with WTSP. Courtney, go ahead with your question.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor-elect, one thing that I think a lot of people are trying to understand, this is the second time that you've had COVID. And you've talked a lot about the science. Can you walk us through, getting the vaccine, getting boosted? Was that prior to getting COVID in September and then now again? Just for people out there questioning the science.
No, I think, and I've I try to not read as much social media, but I've seen some of those comments, but really this is a confirmation that the science works. And so I was vaccinated last year. I received a booster around November. And so I think my first bout was back in September after I'd received the first 2 shots. And it was like this. It was, cold-like symptoms. I was not hospitalized, didn't have any of those effects. And so this shows, how we live with this disease is to get vaccinated, get the booster. And then when you do come in contact with this, then you will be able to manage it and hopefully not have to be hospitalized. Most of the folks who are having real issues are the folks who are not vaccinated. And so that would be my reply to anyone who has a question about it.
Next question is Chip at WFLA. Chip, go ahead.
Mayor-elect, I'm so happy that you're feeling all right. And you kind of asked and answered this already, but do you have any idea where you may have contracted this and what can we learn from, what you're going through? I mean, you did everything right. You got the vaccine, you got the booster. I was frankly quite surprised when I heard that you had it.
Well, I've obviously had a lot of contact, during the campaign and then this year. Attended a watch night service last week, and then the Emancipation Day service. Those are all socially distanced. Everyone was masked at those events. So it's really tough to say where you picked it up, but somewhere along the way, the last check of stats, we were up over 20% positivity rate. And that's 1 out of 5. So it is out there everywhere. And, it's hard to say one particular event where I may have picked this up.
With Bay News 9, you have a question for the mayor-elect? Go ahead.
Yeah, good to talk with you again, Mayor-elect. And again, glad that we kept our distance during our interview last week as well.
You wouldn't ride on the Harley with me. You wouldn't ride on the Harley with me.
I wouldn't. I didn't get the Harley with you. So I'll pick you up on that next time. You kept
your distance. Okay.
I was wondering, given in light of this, I know, I believe Mayor Kreisman has had a mask requirement in all city buildings right now. Didn't know if you were going to continue that under your administration next week, and if you're considering making masks a mandate in the city, despite what the governor's saying and all this. What are your thoughts as far as bringing back some of those mandates, possibly? Yes, Trevor. We'll do the same thing we did during the initial pandemic on the county commission, working with the city and Mayor Kreisman. We'll follow the science and the recommendations of our health professionals and our emergency management folks. I actually was on a call that Mayor Kreisman invited us to with his emergency management team yesterday, and that's really led to me getting tested and coming back with that positive test result. But we'll follow the science. If it makes sense for us to adjust our posture on the mask requirements, then we'll do so. So you would that is a consideration that we could see a mask mandate in the city, possibly? That's not off the table. Well, within the bounds of the law and what we can do, with the preemption from Tallahassee. But whatever we do, my experience has been it needs to be something that's workable and that's enforceable. And so, given our experience, we'll do what we think will be the most effective. And you will. And as far as continuing the mask mandate in the city buildings, are you going to continue that, or what's your thoughts on that? I don't plan to make any immediate changes until we get into office and actually have a discussion with our team. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do we have any others?
A quick follow-up, Mr. Mayor-elect Lloyd Ellis here.
I'm sorry, Lloyd, let me just jump in. Sarah, are you there? Is she was next in line. I want to make sure that we're kind of keeping an order here.
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead,
here.
Sarah.
Okay, I had two two quick questions. What kind of symptoms were you experiencing that led you to getting tested this time? And also, how does this, not take away from the significance of this? During the campaign, you showed us your dad's campaign button and the fact that you were elected and the significance and history of this, and how even though you're dealing with COVID and we're going to this virtual platform, there's still this major significance to the city of St. Petersburg.
Thank you, Sarah. I mean, a great question. The significance really doesn't go away at all. I'm thankful that we were able to be well through Election Day. We were able to have a great Election Day celebration that probably had 400 people there. And I was able to go through, a speech that talked about my vision and what it meant that night. I'm very thankful that I was healthy and able to go to the Harvard Kennedy assembly of new mayors and meet a lot of colleagues there. And that required testing. Was able to go to the White House and talk with the president and vice president and cabinet members. That required a testing. So I'm glad that all those were negative, and I was able to do those things. And those are going to have real impact, whether it's bringing back infrastructure money or just those relationships. But an interesting thing is several of the mayors I met on those two trips, the mayors of Pittsburgh, Seattle, Cleveland, and New York, Mayor Adams, all had to change their inaugurations. Some had to cancel, some had to go virtual. And so this was not really unexpected. I hope we could get in under the wire. But that's the reality that we have. And again, we've got so much to be thankful for. And again, so many folks have lost so much during these last 2 years. I'm definitely looking at this as glass half full. We'll have time to celebrate going forward. And I'm kind of a workaholic anyway. And I'm just ready to get to work. We've partied a lot. There'll be parties in the future, but it's time to get to work.
Two final questions, Bailey. I know you're next in line. Go ahead with WUSF.
Hi, Mayor. I'm wondering.
Hey, Bailey.
Hello. I'm wondering if you
Hey.
plan anything special for celebrating at home, other than the virtual ceremony. Anything with personal significance to you, and do you have any ideas of how you might celebrate in the future with the community?
Well, we had the other thing. Thank you, Bailey, so much for that. The other thing that we were able to get through ahead of this was those community conversations. You brought that back to my mind. We had 3 community conversations last month with about 500 people participating. And again, I'm really thankful we were able to get that done. The last one was virtual as I was traveling to the White House. And so folks want us to come back with more community conversations, but they also, we plan to have our community celebration that was planned for Williams Park after the inauguration. We canceled that first when we saw the rise in Omicron infections. And so we've always said we're going to postpone that until a date when it's safe to do so. So that's really the celebration I'm looking forward to, and we can all come together when it's safe and when we're past this Omicron surge at that point. In terms of family, my rescue puppy is actually being quiet. It's a miracle. I'm not waking her up. She's right back there, Sunny. My daughters are under the weather as well. I did not visit my mom on Sunday because I felt under the weather. So we are also kind of distancing within the family. But once we're back on our feet past the isolation time, we'll, as a family, probably go to Chattaways. That's our favorite place.
Last question, Daniel with Florida Politics. Go ahead, Daniel, if you have a question.
Good morning, Mayor-elect Welch. I'm wondering, COVID's kind of the big topic, and we're experiencing some, continual record surges here in Florida. So I'm wondering, what specific actions do you have in place to make sure you can handle this rapid spread of the Omicron variant we're seeing when you're sworn in, and sort of a follow-up within that? Mayor Kreisman had sort of a adversarial relationship with the governor and his administration when it came to some of his methods. So do you anticipate that kind of a relationship, and how you'll handle that? And again, what are these specific elements of your plan to help stop the rapid spread?
Well, thank you. Really the same approach as we utilized when I was on the county commission in 2020. Work with our health professionals, with our public safety professionals, Dr. Cho at the health department, assess where we are, a constant line of communication with our hospitals and our EMS community, and make the proper adjustments as we go along. We will follow the science, and we'll I always speak to the truth of what's happening around us, not adversarial, but also not going to shrink back from saying what I believe we need to do as a community. And I think Pinellas and St. Pete fared very well using that approach, and that's the approach we'll use moving forward.
A number of you have other questions, but we want to be respectful of Mayor-elect Welch's time here. Mayor-elect, is there anything else that you want to say before we close this call?
No, I thank you all for covering this. I would, again, recommend anyone in the community, please get your vaccines, and when it's appropriate time, please get your booster as well. It does make a difference. And thank you for everyone that's reached out with words of concern. We'll be fine, and looking forward to the swearing in on January 6th. Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you. Get well soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, again, just a couple of house cleaning items. We do hope that we will have an announcement either later today or certainly tomorrow regarding